Cymphonique Miller had the potential to be the next big teen star, and with a father like Master P, he was adamant to make that happen. From touring with Disney stars to starring in her very own Nickelodeon show, they wanted to position her as the next teen star. Since teen stars like Miley, Selena, Victoria, and Ariana were moving on in their careers, Cymphonique was that shining hope. Releasing solo songs and transitioning into urban media, some people thought that she was finally on her way. But unfortunately, she seemed to vanish from the spotlight seemingly overnight. From messy family drama to living in the shadow of her father and brother and a whole new look. What happened to Cymphonique Miller?
5 years from now, they'll be YouTubing this, and it'll be like we're interviewing Janet Jackson. I think you're going to be that big.
Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we are going to talk about a lost figure deep in pop culture. What happened to Cymphonique Miller? I saw a tweet about Cymphonique the other day asking what happened to the lost queen of Blazia. And I choked, laughed a little bit, but actually though, because she was a figure who was seemingly following the teen pop star path that we've seen people like Zendaya, Ariana Grande, Victoria Justice, Selena, Demi, and Miley follow. So there was a bit of a shining hope there. But it seemingly fizzled like a light, which is why some of you guys may have clicked on this and said, who is this girl? But subconsciously, you just might know who she is. People feel split. One side says that she was uberly talented and completely robbed of her opportunity, while others think she only got so far because of who her family and father was. She had the family connections, she had the budding talent, and a palpable charisma. It seems like the cards were perfectly aligning until they weren't. So today we will discuss Cymphonique's journey, career, downfall, scandal, and most importantly, where is she today? Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment down below. What are your thoughts on the story? I know for some of you guys, you may remember. Comment down below if you do remember her. But if you don't, I so encourage you to still watch these videos. There's so many connections we can make between themes and ideas between each story. Hit that subscribe button down below. We are on the road to 100,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for your support. And without further ado, let's just get straight into the video. So let's start at the very beginning. Chapter 1. Cymphonique Miller, yes, that is her legal name. That's her real name. Was born August 1st, 1996 in Los Angeles, California. Her father is the one and only Louisiana hip-hop mogul, Master P, with her older brother being the one and only Lil Romeo. So Master P is a known businessman, a hustler to say the least, with no limit clothing, no limit toys, no limit snacks, noodles, sports management, you name it, that man literally had no limits. And he also found purpose and success in making his eldest son Romeo a mini rapper and actor. Cymphonique was born into a family that was business-minded and had connections to the entertainment industry. Cymphonique being one of Master P's 9 children, the family dynamic is quite complex. And don't worry, we will talk about this because there is some relevance to the story. But of course, she was destined to do something. What would that something be? But growing up a Catholic, she started off singing in her church's choir. And from there, she developed her voice and realized she had a passion for singing. She leaped into doing community and school plays. Her dad says he remembers seeing glimpses of her talent as early as 2 years old, with her singing and dancing in the mirror at every second that she could get. But despite her toddler dreams, Master P apparently told her that she didn't have to follow the limelight like her older sibling or her father, wanting her to focus more on her education.
My dad, he actually didn't want me to get into this business because he was already here. Like, he did his part. He sold his records.
Master P grew up in the streets of New Orleans and wanted something different for his children. But he made a deal with her that if she got her grades all the way up, she could go after her dreams, and this was the beginning of her story. Now, for her early career, she did begin gaining exposure by posting covers onto YouTube, which is like a part of the artist starter pack at this time.
I need to look very much further. I don't wanna have to go.
And Cymphonique posted her very first music video to an original song called Little Miss Swagger, released on July 21st, 2009. And this was my personal introduction to her as a kid who lived on YouTube at the time. And so I remember stumbling across this video and I was like, wait, who is this little girl? And not only did this video get millions of views and hits, but she was dancing her little tail off. Like, the charisma was oozing through the screen. The song itself was like very 2008, 2009, right? Like, yeah. I remember seeing this and thinking, she's so cool. And the song, of course, was written and produced by her father, Master P. She gained even more exposure when she was 13 and competed in season 2 of Radio Disney's Next Big Thing in late 2009. And to refresh your memory, Radio Disney's Next Big Thing was a singing competition where unsigned and unknown artists could get discovered and hopefully land a recording deal, with fan voting as the catalyst. And Cymphonique came in second place to a girl named Jasmine, which, for all of you who are deep cut into pop culture, Jasmine is Tally's sister/manager from the Rap Game season 2 and 3.
You heard you was gonna diss me. What happened?
Yo, so fake, you made of plastic.
Oh.
The way that young Hollywood connects, it's really such a small world and a small industry. So Next Big Thing was a show that emphasized, right, propping up unknown artists. I'm assuming that she may have landed a spot in the competition because her song Little Miss Swagger did have a little mini viral moment, but I also wonder if her dad, having any connections, secured her that spot, right? Because her father at some point, and maybe even as early as 2009, owned a record label, right? So she wasn't somebody who like needed the opportunity to be able to sign to a record label. And fun fact, one of her fellow castmates this season included the Gabby Wilson, or AKA her. Following this, she released her song Daddy I'm a Rock Star and I Heart You, which was my personal favorite. Had that on repeat. But one thing that was really admirable about her brand, that at a young age, she centered it around girl empowerment and confidence. I think it was a very consistent message and a positive influence on children or young girls at this time. And at this point, they had built this spunky, sassy branding surrounding her style and lyrics. Very loud, direct, and trendy. Colorful hair, she had the illusion of having a shaved side. She was allowed to be expressive. And it kind of reminds me of how a lot of parents judged the OMG girls for their colorful hair and outfits, as it had been stigmatized for little girls, and especially little black girls, to do so. People calling us fast or too mature, or our parents not being open to that. So it was nice to see that she was given the space to be expressive and have fun with her visual. Now, around this time, she even apparently snagged a Nicki feature. Yes, Nicki Minaj. Yes. On a song called Tempo, which was released on July 12th, 2010. Now, I guess it was a remake of a demo that Nicki Minaj did with an artist named Ashley back in 2008. I hope you guys could follow that. People would debate whose version was better, but essentially Cymphonique's version became more of the known one. Her song Soldier Girl was released in September 2010, and it's also important to mention here that she was 1/4 of a group called The Fabulous Girls. Yes, it's such a mid-2K coded group name. Yeah, where they released songs like Butterflies, Unbreakable, and So Fabulous. The group consisted as Cymphonique as the lead and Alexia, Kylie, and Shelby as the support. But what's interesting about their debut album called Fabulous Girl that was released in June 2010, it's quite blatant that this group was kind of a ploy to prop up Cymphonique. And most groups are a ploy to prop up the lead artist, right? We get that. But the layout of the album was very telling to me. Instead of songs just being by the Fabulous Girls, which Cymphonique was a part of, they were very intentional in giving Cymphonique her own songs or highlighting her as the lead. Their song Something is an example of this. But this was the first song I realized that she had real singing chops.
Every time I'm with you,
a more mature R&B ballad. So at this point, she was operating as a solo artist and a group artist, and I think they might have been waiting to see what popped off first. But Cymphonique performed on national tours across the country with the likes of Raven Simone, Ashley Tisdale, Demi Lovato, and JoJo, most likely because of the connection she made during Next Big Thing. She also went on her own tour in 2010 called the I Heart You Tour, so no stone was left unturned either. She had a book series,
I wanted to make a book from a girl to a girl.
a clothing line, a charity alongside her music. So let's talk about her breakthrough and career takeoff. So back in December 2009, she actually signed a talent development deal with Nickelodeon. She had her hand in the Disney cookie jar and she had her hand in the Nick cookie jar. But her deal with Nick would finally come into fruition, where she would land guest star roles on Big Time Rush,
This cat's house now, and not for stupid bros. And
True Jackson VP, The Troop, and Just Jordan. And she also landed an opportunity to sing the Winx Club Revival series theme song, which premiered on Nick in June 2011 and featured stars like Ariana Grande. She also did some voice acting on that show as well as Phineas and Ferb. But she was clearly building a home on Nickelodeon. What the world didn't know, though, was that this was simply preparation, familiarizing viewers with her face because they had big plans for her. Around 2010 to 2011, Nick's network ratings dropped tremendously. Considering that their big star, Victoria Justice, was beginning to turn 18 and developing her solo career, and the big three of Disney, Miley, Selena, and Demi, were moving on, they put their faith in Cymphonique to bring another generational talent to the forefront, which is a lot of pressure. But I think for Nick, they thought, we're kind of losing to Disney in the teen star department, so this was the door opening. This led her into landing her own lead role on the 2012 Nickelodeon show How to Rock. Playing the main character, Casey Simon, this role proved to be the best of both worlds. Not only could she flex her acting skills, but the show was music-based, so she did contribute to original music for the show, like her singing the theme song, Only You Can Be You. In response to her landing that role, her father actually said, quote, "To be honest with you, I think she's actually going to be bigger than I could ever be." Put that in your back pocket. But this was nothing new for the Miller family, considering Romeo had his own Nickelodeon series at only
13 years old.
But unfortunately, Cymphonique's show How to Rock only lasted one season, which many fans found unfortunate. There were a lot of people who liked the show, many theorizing that Nick slashing the show was a response to a rating slump. It wasn't, though, a complete failure. I believe the first episode aired at 3.3 million views, and although the views stayed above the 2 million mark, the viewers essentially dropped, right? You want to create an increase in viewership. And B, the network's effort to shift away from music-oriented shows, as they had many on their roster and it wasn't proving to be significantly successful anymore. It's one of those Nickelodeon gems where you kind of had to be there to catch wind of the show, but they were propping her up. And actually, prior to the show's premiere, Marjorie Cohn, who was Nickelodeon's program executive, said, quote, "Cymphonique is an extraordinarily talented 14-year-old who has already established herself as an actress, singer, and dancer, while remaining an honor student, and How to Rock is the perfect showcase for her comedic and musical skills." So it's clear that they initially had big plans for her. Maybe this was their answer to Disney's Zendaya, but their hopes for Cymphonique just couldn't carry the show. She and/or her father planted seeds in the kid-teen pop star space, which was essentially smart. She was a cute girl with loads of charisma, some vocal talent, and personality. And in partnership with Nickelodeon, Sony Music signed the 13-year-old as well. So she was signed with Sony at some point. And I know there's debate saying whether she had it girl potential and was of it girl status. And I'm not quite sure if enough people even knew her to say that. So I wouldn't say she was quite there. But regardless of opinion, to be that young and to have that confidence is no small feat. And I give her tons of credit for what she was able to accomplish at such a young age. But back to the music side, rewinding to 2011, she was actually nominated for Best Female Hip Hop Artist at the BET Awards. And I know you just scratch your head because like why? What would warrant that nomination? But y'all, she was nominated in the same category as Nicki Minaj. And obviously Nicki won. But like I don't fully understand that. I know female rap was a little bit dry at that point, so they was putting anybody in that damn category. But I was very shocked to hear that. And T-Ways. She was also the youngest female recording artist at the time to have her music video featured simultaneously on BET, 106 in Park, and Disney. So once the show ended in December 2012, Nick was no longer her path. She shifted to urban media as she got older, making appearances on 106 in Park and maturing her R&B sound. And in 2012, she released a duet with Jacob Lattimore called Nobody Like You. And when I tell you this was my song,
got me girl, got me all the time. Got me boy, got me boy, got me.
And I still play this song till this day. The smooth vocals, slide tone, back and forth duet was golden. And I don't care what anyone says, this is a good R&B track. The song and video actually premiered on 106 in Park, which increased the song's exposure directly to its target audience. She'd go on to release more party type tracks with her song It's My Party, and that was giving Tinashe tease. At this point, Cymphonique was kind of just reminding me other artists, like a splash of Aaliyah, a splash of Tinashe. To me, there wasn't anything that, other than her name, that like really set her apart stylistically. But Cymphonique's first mixtape, called Passion, released on June 25th, 2013. The mixtape was released under her father's label, No Limit Forever. It also appears that in 2013, she relinked with the Fabulous Girls and they released one last song together.
Look inside you and be strong.
That same year, she went back to acting briefly and starred in a movie called The Dempsey Sisters, alongside seasoned actresses like Lynn Whitfield and former R&B star Tierra Marie. But music through it all was still a focus. And in 2015, her father summoned her yet again when she joined the cast of Master P's new reality series called Master P's Family Empire. He had these kids working, and Cymphonique was there at his side every damn time.
I want to show the world that I'm more than Master P's daughter.
Brother's movie career is on fire, but little sister needs a spark.
There's a role for you. You'd be playing a pregnant teen.
And she also appeared on a few episodes of Growing Up Hip Hop, a show that her brother frequented at this time. And she'd continue to sporadically release songs throughout the year, such as Baby Baby, Change, and Raindrops, through from about 2014 to 2018. But no major moves musically had been made. The last time I personally remember tapping in was for her 2017 song called Drippin'. But her debut EP finally released, No Days Off, even though it seemed like she was taking some days off, but that released on January 22nd, 2018. And one of my favorites off of this EP includes its opening track called Since Jordan. This track could have easily been a comeback record. This is a really great track. I think for a girl her age, it wasn't a track about love or toxic relationships. It was a track about talking about her hustle. And I think, again, she always maintained to me a very good role model image pretty authentically throughout her entire career up to this point. In a lot of ways, guys, I think R&B was her strong suit. That's where I think she really should have put all of her focus and effort. But I attest to this time and her making a bit of a switch up being to what was on the radio, right? Like, there was this internal battle to release party anthems and to still hold on to her rap/singing persona. And I remember even looking back then as a consumer, not really understanding her direction in sound, and I kind of checked out. And again, I was somebody who kept up and listened to her music. Even me, I remember thinking like, I don't know what this is. And so there were so many other people coming out, like Kehlani, and Janae was having her resurgence, and her finally had started dropping music, and Kiana Lede. Like, there were just so many other people that I think were more direct. You know, she just kind of faded into the background. So let's talk about the scandal. Now, buckle up, because we got to talk about the family tree. Okay? And you guys will see how this will connect. Because for a long time, some fans have always felt like, you know, Master P has all these kids. Why is he only parading around her? Or why does it seem like she's getting preferential treatment? But I realized as I was digging that there might be some deeper things going on here. So let's talk about it. Cymphonique is one of 8 biological children of Master P. Okay, now before I said he has 9 kids.
Romeo to Italiana to Vino to Versi to Cymphonique to Hersey to Mercy to Italy to Tata.
He has one son who I believe is adopted. That is what is on the internet. That's what they say. And he is technically Master P's nephew, but he adopted him, right? So Master P has a basketball starting lineup of children, and he'll be the first to say it.
I have a basketball team.
And not to the fault of any of the kids, right? Kids are always innocent in these situations. But the family situation was always a bit messy. Nique's father, Master P, was married to Sonia Miller for a long while. She was the woman who helped build his empire, where they go on to have many children of their own, including their eldest, Romeo. Now, Cymphonique was born in 1996, and she has a different mom. Let's keep in mind, Master P and Sonia were married from 1989 to 2014. They separated in 2014 and finalized their divorce in 2022. If Cymphonique was born in 1996 and had a different mom, she was possibly born outside of their marriage. Master P and Sonia, their youngest biological daughter, was born in 99. And their youngest child was born as late as 2005. Because again, I'm trying to do research for this, like who's the mama, who's the daddy, where's she born, I just kept saying Master P. I was like, who's her mom? But every time you Google it, allegedly it says Cymphonique's mother is Filipina. Identity is not officially known. But for so long, many people just assumed that Cymphonique's mom, her bio mom, was Sonia. But there was knowledge that Cymphonique was Filipina. She was half black, half Asian. How would a Blasian kid come from 2 black parents? Biologically, right? So I think some people just didn't bat an eye because he had so many kids to begin with. But because her mom's identity has never been made public, there's been some implications that maybe there's something to hide.
Romeo unintentionally let all the cats out of the bag when he took to his socials to wish his late sister Tatiana a happy 26th birthday, with a caption that read, Tatiana Miller, born August 1st, 1996. Despite most reports stating that she was born on June 15th, 1992, Romeo so far has been the only one to let her real date of birth and age be known. August 1st, 1996. The same exact birthday as his other daughter, Cymphonique, aka his token child.
And so I believe when Cymphonique was around 18 is when people kind of started being like, oh wait, so she's not Sonia's child. And as horrible as this all sounds, this has been a question surrounding Cymphonique for many years. Some people even theorize that Cymphonique's cousin / brother, he was adopted brother, and herself may actually share the same mother. A recent 2024 post shows Master P and his family on vacation with who the post claims to be his secret wife that he recently married. The secret wife being named Lerma. But Lerma appears to also be his nephew / adoptive son, Vino's mother. Okay? And you can confirm this because Vino has made posts with this woman saying mom. They say that Vino's dad was Master P's brother that was killed in the early 90s. So Master P stepped in and adopted him. But there's still confusion around that. While some people believe that Vino is just Master P's bio son. And they allege that Vino's mom is also Cymphonique's mother. They both have a Filipino ancestry and a Filipino mother. Allegedly, they're saying that Master P might have recently married this woman. They could be full siblings, or they may be cousin siblings. I don't know what in the Jermaine and Randy Jackson is going on, okay? I never knew about this growing up. Through research, though, it just persistently came up. And I really didn't think this video would lead to me having to build a genealogy tree, but here we are. Actually always been a bit of drama surrounding Master P's family, the divorce to Sonia, and their family tree. So don't shoot the messenger. This is not new information. So how does this relate to her story, right? With a natural charisma and musical talent, paired with her father's connection, at a young age, she was able to get her foot through Hollywood's front door. But there has also been this alleged feeling that he has shown a level of favoritism to Cymphonique, at least from the outside looking in. Maybe over some of his other kids, and more specifically, his other daughters. Hence, people may be theorizing why he maybe pushed her career maybe over some of his other children, at least publicly, because I won't lie, and I don't want to lie on this man. It does seem like he has presented his other children with business opportunities regardless. Like, all of his kids are going to eat. I will say this, I genuinely think that this family drama and connection spirals into what went wrong. Let's talk about it. Her fame connection. As much as that can be a help in getting a boost, Master P, who got his rap career started in the early 90s and found mainstream success, proved himself to be extremely business-minded and an entrepreneur at heart. I mean, look at Romeo, right, and Cymphonique as his project or stars to push. In several interviews over the years, Cymphonique keeps saying she wanted to create a name for herself outside of her father.
Is there a pressure being Master P's daughter?
You know, I'd be lying if I said that there wasn't. I think it's actually cool because I think everybody has obstacles in their life. And, of course, there's always haters like, oh, it's just because she's Master P's daughter. But at the end of the day, I'm like, whatever.
But then in almost everything she did was in relationship to her father. Whether it was front-facing or you look behind the scenes and look at the credits, Master P was probably involved in that equation. And as much as I think that Cymphonique had raw talent there, would she have made it into certain rooms if it weren't for her father? But according to a previous interview, Cymphonique said when she auditioned initially for Nickelodeon, she didn't tell anyone there about her famous family or who her father was, saying, quote, "I didn't want to earn anything just off of who I was related to." And look, I'm not here to interrogate her truth, but I have a hard time believing that. Her first major single was produced by her father. And for Romeo's Nickelodeon sitcom that ran from 2003 to 2006, Master P was not only a creator of the show, he was an executive producer on the show, and he starred in the show on Nickelodeon. So Nick was familiar with Master P. You can't use the excuse that they didn't know who this rapper was, this 90s like niche rapper was. They did. You don't think that he was going to flex that connection? Maybe they let her believe that she completely got in there and did that audition and got it on her own merit, because she does have talent. But that family has way too many ties and connections, and Hollywood is so small. So unless if she just didn't have a strong relationship with her father at that point and people really didn't know, maybe she was raised by her mom for a long while. At the beginning of this video, we also outlined how Master P said to Cymphonique, "You can't do music unless you keep your grades up," which implies that he was absolutely in her life before she really dove into the entertainment industry. So he was involved before her career. Best believe if his kids wanted to do something, he was going to make sure that happened. But even Nickelodeon's executive VP talent, Paula Kaplan, said, quote, "Cymphonique has great comedic timing, an amazing voice, and we have a long history with this family." So boom, Nickelodeon knew. I am not hating on that. I actually love when black families use their nepotism. Get your kids in those rooms. But let's just be honest. I just felt like when looking at a lot of stuff into the story and into her family, there's just a lot of details that don't feel very transparent, or it's very confusing. Later in her career, she'd do press tours and radio interviews with her dad, which I also think made it hard for her to create a separation, or for us as fans to know her more maturely.
And I am telling you, I'm not going. You're the best man I'll ever know. All right, that's
Wow.
On the flip side though, I've also seen other people saying she just wasn't that talented. But also, guys, sometimes things just don't work out, and like there's not this complex reason why someone didn't make it. I think one of the biggest hurdles for her was the big expectations. It's quite fascinating because she was supposed to be Nick's next protege. But I know that Nickelodeon didn't develop and promote their singing talent in the way that Disney did. So Nick's stars would sing on their sitcom, but otherwise they had to pursue outside of the network. Look at Ariana Grande. David Israel, who was the executive producer of How to Rock, said, quote, "To be this talented at this young age, I feel like she has unlimited potential." And he said this about Cymphonique. We can even look back to Nickelodeon's program executive who gushed about her talent. She was impressing the right people, but did they create shoes that were too big for her to fill? When you're given high expectations, there's more at stake when you don't meet them. Her own father even frequently made comparisons between his daughter and Beyonce.
She could easily be the next Beyonce.
And we can sprinkle in Rihanna too.
Like my daughter, Cymphonique, she got enough talent to fill a spot to be the next Beyonce or Rihanna.
Floating legendary names in the air in comparison to his children. All of those comments were like fine and dandy, I guess, then, but you look back at it, because she wasn't able to fully reach that feat, it's just kind of awkward. I feel like you already lose when you start comparing yourself to greats and legends, because your career is never going to look like theirs. You can only forge your own path. So let's talk about where she is now. Cymphonique Miller is now 28 years old, and if I'm being honest, I hadn't seen her in so long that I almost did not recognize new photos of her. She looks completely different. In 2017, she completed another side mission where she actually created a comic series called Eyes of Eska. Romeo actually said that this would be turned into a feature film, and I don't know if that's happened quite yet. She landed a few acting roles, such as I Got the Hookup in 2019 and Never Again in 2020, of course executively produced by her dad and her brother. But unfortunately, the Miller family dealt with a major loss in May 2022, losing her sister, her half-sister, Tatiana Miller, which I know brought a lot of grief to the family and made the family stand still for that moment in time. So I can imagine that halted a lot of business ventures, or halted a lot for the family. Cymphonique started her own R&B label called Pressure Records.
My dad, Master P, changed the rap game. Now I'm gonna change the R&B game on my own record label.
She hadn't released an EP or a mixtape since 2018, which means she hasn't ever released an album. She began releasing music again in 2023 with songs like Can We Talk, the New Orleans version, which is really just a cover of Tevin Campbell's OG song. Yeah. She also released an original song called Pressure in November 2nd, 2023. I think this production and overall sonic sound is a bit better fitting for her and goes back to kind of those roots she was building in like 2012, 2013. So I feel like this direction is kind of where she needs to go. But with that new single came a stage name change, where she now goes under the name Nique, and IQ in all caps. She even hosted a dance class to her song Pressure, which I think was a great move, great publicity. I think a lot of people underestimate dancers. You want that song to be heard? Get it in a dance class. Let some dancers get up. So she did that. I thought that was dope. And her dad was actually set to produce an independent film called Get the Bag, while she also said she'd release a soundtrack to accompany the movie.
We're working on a movie right now called Get the Bag. So
at the end of the music video for her song Pressure, they teased the film's release with some interesting acting.
You know the vibes, where my bread at? You're supposed to be my friend.
But from what I understand, this movie has not been released yet, and neither has the soundtrack. She also developed a cosmetic line called Pressure, and I do think that she's tried to follow in her father's footsteps with so many business ventures. She never fully gave herself the time and attention to push her music and craft all the way. There was always a side mission. And sometimes when we have too many things going on, other things get neglected. But her most recent single, called Never Too Much, released in March 2024, so almost a year ago to date. And you guessed it, it's a sample. I noticed she does a lot of sampling or interpolating, okay? Which seems to be like a crutch for her. I know she hadn't released a lot of music in a long time. It's a safe but underwhelming option and choice, and I really hope that she will forge forward in making original sounds, because I was very underwhelmed by this. I mean, Never Too Much by Luther Vandross is forever and will always be a classic, and I really just don't think you should touch it unless if you're really going to add something to the table. And to be honest, just don't touch the song. Like, just don't touch it. Let's just leave it where it's at. Let's just move on. But overall, it appears that her sound lives in a mix of R&B, club, and EDM. So it's like an interesting mix there. But in March 2024, she had announced her debut album, Pressure, was coming.
Yes, I have an album coming for you guys.
What's the name of your album?
Pressure.
But that has since not come out in 2025. There's no album yet. Her dad does still promote her singing on his page here and there. So I guess this is supposed to be an ad for his cereal company. Clearly she wasn't singing a cappella. It sounds like a studio recording. The antics. It's just kind of cringy, if I'm being honest. But she doesn't have any pictures or tagged photos on her Instagram. So she is kind of off the radar. She's kind of been MIA. It's quite the interesting move that she's made herself kind of ghost and invisible, considering that she just started a label and seemed like she was revamping her solo career. But when you do have a family that's so entrepreneur focused and business oriented and not strangers to the music industry, I do think it's quite interesting that she started releasing music again, but they haven't really committed to doing much. That's what happened to Cymphonique Miller. There's not a whole lot to... I had to do a lot of digging for this, guys. Like, a lot of digging. She deserved a bit of a spotlight because she had something. I live in the space where I think that she had talent. I don't necessarily think she got everything because of who her dad was, but she had a gift. We'll see what happens with Cymphonique in the future, with Nick in the future. So tap in, tune in. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. What do you guys think of her career, the scandals, the tribulations, and what she's doing today? But thank you guys for watching. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.